Well, welcome to, of course, another edition of My Life in Football, and of course, it's the last episode of Series 2. And well, we've left the best till last, because we have got with us the one and only. Of course, you might have seen on Sky Sports, and she's firing off autographs all over the place and penning everybody off now. Of course, Rosi Webb from Stanway Pegasus, which is fantastic to have you with us, Rosie. And what was that like, getting that call to go on there on Sky Sports?
Yeah, so they kind of followed our journey as a club, really, the back end of last season. So they done a good little, I think it was about a 15-minute piece on Sky Sports News around getting to the playoff semi-finals, then getting to the playoff finals. And then, unfortunately, we lost down to penalties, but it was a really, really good piece. And I think off the back of the appointment of Hannah into Forest Green, I just got a call of the morning and said, can you come on air and just talk a little bit around females in football? So happened to be off that day. So yeah, it fitted quite well, to be fair.
So, I mean, has Hannah been in contact with you? Have you had any contact with her at all?
No. I just know of bits that she'd done, and like I spoke on Sky Sports, that she'd been involved in the club for a while and the academy set up, and it weren't, they went down the route of a PR stunt, and like I said, I didn't think it was. She'd earned her stripes, and I think it was a good appointment. And I'm excited to see how long that will last, if they'll keep her there, and ultimately if she wants to keep that job, or she's happy being back in the academy, where I've heard that she's doing a fantastic job.
I mean, that must be difficult for her, though, when you see the pictures on Sky Sports the following day, when we've got all these cameramen there. It's almost as if it was like Jose Mourinho taking over Forest Green. It was incredible.
It was always going to be that way. As soon as there was a female announced within the Football League, it was always going to be that way, and it would be that way if she gets announced as the manager full time, or it be somebody else. I expect that kind of exposure around that at the moment.
So, for everybody that doesn't know, so what sort of step are you managing at with Stanway?
We're step 6,
right.
And we're hoping this season to kind of finish within the top 5 like we did last season, make the playoffs, and really push on. We're a really progressive club, and we want to climb the ladder as such. So it's our first time in FA Vase this year as a club, so that's massive this year for us. And we're just really excited of where the club's going and how far we can really push on.
Who's in the league for you this year?
So we kind of done a sideward move this year. Due to, I think there was a number of teams coming down from the London leagues that fit into the south. We got moved sideways to the north.
Right.
So we go as far as Great Yarmouth. Our opening game of the season is Norwich, but equally we have a lot of local games this year. So we'll have Wivenhoe, we have Holland. So it's like when you travel into London, you can spend 2 hours traveling to London, sitting in traffic. So you can do that time going to Great Yarmouth. So although it seems like there's a couple of teams in that league that are a little bit further, actually in relation to the time of sitting in traffic going into London, it's not that bad. At least the scenic route's a little bit better in Great Yarmouth than travelling down
Great Yarmouth or London. I wonder which one. So, Rosie, I mean, go back to the beginning. How did Rosie first get involved in football? Was that like at school, or I mean, where was that sort of first involvement for yourself?
Yeah, I kind of joined. I played football from a young age, but I didn't actually join a team until I was I think it was under 14s, and it all happened. My brother was at school, and I think it was Tottenham in the community at the time had come into the school, and my brother went and spoke to him and said, look, like my sister, she comes over to Parch Plays with us all the time, but she don't really know how to get into a team. So they said, look, come down Saturday, we've got like some open sessions. So we lived in Edmonton at the time, so there it was. Me and my brother packed our bag, had an hour and a half walk down to Tottenham, and yeah, it really took off from there. And I stayed playing at Tottenham for probably about 8 years. I took a break from there when I went to uni at East London and played at Charlton for a couple of seasons, and then went back to Tottenham. And then, I moved to take a job in Essex. So I kind of moved down this way when I played at Ipswich. And then one weekend I was just helping a friend out playing, and I'd done my ACL. So I think that was the moment really where I took coaching a little bit more seriously than I had before. So I had different roles along the route of playing, but it's really from that moment when I done my ACL, I thought, yeah, do you know what? Probably getting a little bit older, I want to get involved a little bit more serious, and that's where like the full-time jobs came in football.
Yeah, I mean, I remember one. I used to run a couple of ladies' sides, and one of the ladies actually went to Tottenham. And the first name's going to really annoy me because I can't think what her first name was, but her last name was Berry, and she was down at.
Oh, is that Mel Berry?
Mel Berry, yeah.
Yeah.
She used to be captain of my ladies' team. Yeah, so she went down there, and I remember getting invited. And I can't even remember where the game was played. It was either Broxbourne, V&E, or somewhere around that area. And they were playing Arsenal in a county cup game. And I think she might have been captain of the team at the time or whatever. And we got invited to go down there, and as her guest night, we went down to see the game. And I think it was 0-0 with about 5 minutes to go in this county cup game with the likes of Kelly Smith and Alex Scott and all these people playing. I'm thinking, wow, this is all right. What's going on here? Like, and it ended up, I think, about 10-1, I think, in the end. But it was one of those things in those days where it was really interesting. But a great player, Mel.
Yeah, she played. In fact, I think that might be the game you're talking about. I think I might have played in that game as well. But yeah, Mel was certainly playing when I was playing, and we played in the same squad as each other.
Well, there you go. See, small world, eh? Small world.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what was that like though, playing for Tottenham? Because I mean, now, of course, people don't realise really from where. I'm not saying this because I'm an Arsenal fan, but I mean, the Tottenham ladies, Tottenham women were sort of quite a few steps below Arsenal at the time, and sort of coming up and to where they literally are today. I mean, what was that like playing for Spurs?
Yeah, like yourself, I'm an Arsenal fan, so imagine it was difficult at times to put that shirt on, but the club has come a long way, and there used to be a guy down there called Glenn, and he started the club off many years ago, and he sadly passed away a few years ago, and I think he'll be looking down really proud of where the club's gone, because I truly believe that if he didn't put his time, effort, and get the club up and running, it wouldn't be where it is now. So it's like anything. If you've got good people behind a club, then clubs tend to go far. If you've got the right people in there that care, that are passionate, and are there for, not there for selfish reasons. They're there because they want to be there, and they really care about the female and the girls' game. But yeah, it was amazing at the time. Just you get to turn up, play, do what you love, and you get to play for Tottenham's a big name, so you get to get recognised at playing at big name clubs, and yeah, it was amazing part of my life, and I got to play with some really good players like Mel. Yeah, there were some really good times.
I mean, any stories you can tell us? Any sort of good stories or bad stories from playing for Spurs? Was it just playing for Spurs was a bad story?
No, you know what? There's loads of stories. I'm not sure if they're appropriate for on air, but no, like any club, and I think a lot of young girls can probably relate to it. It's where you probably get your friendships for life, and you're young, you're playing with people that you associate outside of football as well. And it was just a really good. I love being part of a team when you're working with people that are aiming for the same goal, and you can do it whilst playing along with your friends. They're just, you got some amazing memories that you look back on. We got to play at White Hart Lane, and that was massive for the club. That was one of the biggest points, was getting to play at White Hart Lane, the first time the ladies team had ever done it. So it is really good being part of those moments that go on to mean so much to so many people.
So I mean, from there, though, so you moved to Charlton.
Yeah,
and another big name in ladies football around that sort of time, I would have said as well.
Yeah, so I moved across the water because I'd gone to East London to do my sports degree. So I was up there playing at the time, and again, some really good memories. Played at some really good places. And it was probably just at the point where money was starting to get pumped in, and women's football was getting recognised. And yet again, it was just another quality experience. And I remember being coached by Paul Mortimer at the time, an ex-pro. And when people talk to me about my coaching, he was probably one of the biggest influencers, because when I look back on coaches that I enjoyed being coached by, Paul certainly was up there with the best. He knew how to relate to players. He was a real people person. And he's probably one of my best coaches that I've ever been coached by.
I mean, what was that like? I mean, what sort of sides were you playing against? And I mean, is there any sort of things you can tell us about, behind the scenes there?
We played against local sides like Gillingham, like Millwall, played Arsenal in the cup. But yeah, again, another club similar to Tottenham, where you had some really good people behind it, driving it, and again, if those people didn't start out in those roles, trying to push the club on from those early days, I don't think that they'd be where they are now. So again, it's all about those people pushing it and driving it with their passion behind the scenes.
So when did you do your ACL?
Oh, it must be going about 7 years ago now. I just gone and played on the weekend, and yeah, I remember it now. It was 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper, and the board got away from me. The board had been played through, and I don't even know why I thought I could get on the end of it. You know, it's like as you get older, hamstrings shorten, you're not as fast as you used to be. And then the keeper just comes sliding out, landed on my foot, knee went back, and that was the end of it, really. But I continued playing after I had surgery and that. And I play now locally. But yeah, that was massive, because it was, anyone that's had their ACL injuries knows that it's a mental battle rather than a physical battle.
I mean, that was supposed one of the other questions before we carry on with your sort of career path. Why do you think that is, especially in the last sort of 6 months or so? What do you feel is the reason why there is at the moment so many ACLs in the women's game?
Good question. I honestly, I think there's a number of factors. I think that I know that a few of the name brands have started looking at football boots and heights of studs, and where trying to mold football boots to the female body as such. You could argue grounds, but then you look at the Arsenal long list of injuries, and they play on some really good pitches. So yeah, I don't know the answer to that, and I'm not sure we've got the reason behind it just yet.
We needed Ali for that question, but yeah, it just seems weird, doesn't it? With big string of them all of a sudden, just, you know, I mean, you see some of the ladies on there, and you hear them saying that, you know, so I think one of the ladies that's in the England squad at the moment has actually had I think 2, maybe 3 ACLs, and it's just incredible.
Yeah, I mean, they do say once you've done it once, you are likely to do it again. Yes. So yeah, I'm sure there's probably lots of research going on in the background of why these injuries keep occurring, and hopefully we'll get to a position where it's prevention before it gets to that stage. But I'm sure there'll be some research out soon.
So, I mean, from yourself then, you've done your ACL. I mean, then what was next for yourself then? Was it into coaching once you recovered?
So I'd been coaching beforehand. So I'd moved from when I got moved to Ipswich to take a full-time role at Cole United, just as a community coach. Stayed there for a couple of years while still playing, and then went over as an FA skills coach. I don't know if you know much about the programme, but we've specialised in 5 to 11-year-olds, all around fundamentals, supporting grassroots coaches, working with PE teachers. And then it kind of really spiraled from there, and then I probably took a little bit of a gap and went and managed a football facility where they just rent out football pitches, 4G facilities. So I kind of took a bit of a break, because I'd done the Centre of Excellences, I'd worked in the girls programs, and I kind of just needed a bit of time out, a bit of just me time to figure out where I was going in the game. And it was kind of all by accident how it fell into Pegasus. I was at work one day, and a coach called Ray Turner came in that was coaching the men's first team at the time.
Another name that I recognise, yeah, go on.
Ray Turner, yeah. He used to play, so I think his name's probably around the non-league circuit as a top goal scorer somewhere, or as much as he likes to keep reminding me. And he said, look, why don't you come on board? Let me speak to the club about getting you over, do some coaching for us. I thought, yeah, do you know what? Time's right. I remember going in, meeting the owner of the club, Ian Booth, and he was really keen to get me on board. So I was over there and working with Ray for a couple of years as a coach. And then not last season, the season before, Ray decided to take a step back and just focus on our youth system, which, by the way, does a fantastic job. We're now up to 18 youth teams this season, and what he brings is second to none. So the club then approached me and said, do you want to come in and do you want to step up as manager? And I was like, well, you either take it or you don't. So, or you stay as coach. Yeah.
So what was that? Sorry, Rosie, interrupting. What was that like though? Because I mean, at the time, that's you going to be a manager in a male sort of dominated sport, even probably still even now, even though the ladies are better than the men, but that's not the point. What was that actually physically like when you get that sort of offer? Was it something that you really had to think about first, or was it something that you thought to yourself, do you know what, I know I can do this, so let's go in and do it? It doesn't, it's not an issue for me.
Yeah, I think because I'd been there as a coach for 2 seasons and I was kind of not in the limelight as manager, it was an easy decision because I'd had that experience. I kind of knew what to expect. So it was kind of a no-brainer for me. And I'm the kind of person that likes to be challenged. And if I see an opportunity and I think it's right for me, I'm going to grab it with both hands. So for me, it was more of a compliment that the club felt that I was the right person for it as well. And again, like promoting within, I think is massive. So yeah, it wasn't too much of a hard decision because I'd been at the club for 2 years and I knew what their vision was. I knew where they were going, and the drive that they've got to push the club on was exactly fitted what I'm like as a person as well.
So what was it, you get that sort of that job, and I mean there must have been a bit of press around it because of course you must have been one of the first ladies in charge of a non-league side as well. So I mean, how is that to cope with as well? And and I suppose, sorry, and the second part of that question, why do they think like they do when we spoke earlier on about, was it I forgot Hannah, before, that, oh, it's just a PR stunt or it's this stunt. Why are you a PR stunt, but if Ray was taking that job, it's not a PR stunt? Do you know what I mean? I don't understand. I've never got my head around that because, why it's different from a lady to a man doing that. But what sort of feedback did you get when you accepted the role?
So like I said, I'd been in that league 2 seasons before. So a lot of the managers already knew who I was, and at the time it was the Essex and Suffolk Border League Prem, and the league was great. The clubs that played in there, they were respectful. So you know what, sometimes the leagues make a massive difference in the teams that you're playing against. So I think the pressure only come from myself. I only put pressure on myself. I don't think there was pressure from the club. I think they felt that the appointment was right. And yeah, they kind of just had the confidence in me to kind of go out and try and help push the club on and get us out of that league.
And absolutely. I mean, but how, what I'm saying is, did you get any sort of like word of non-league paper there? Saying, was there a little bit of a hoo-ha? Maybe not as much as what Hannah got, but was there any sort of hoo-ha around it?
Yeah, at the end of the season, there was. I think that was due to the fact that we'd done the double when we'd done the season unbeaten. So I think that was a massive kind of headline, and I'd done a few bits for non-league paper, and that they printed a nice piece on there on the club and my journey. So that was fantastic. And then a few interviews for like BBC local news. So yeah, there was a little bit of interest drummed up, and I think that was more probably due to the fact that we'd gone unbeaten and we'd done the double.
And what step was that you did the double at? Was that step 6 or step 7?
Step 7.
Step 7. And what was that like? Talk us through that season, getting your first one, going in there and then doing what you did. I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask any manager or coach that's managing a team, they probably have in their head a realistic aim of where they want to finish that league. And I remember at the beginning of the season, I wanted to win the league, but I would have been happy with kind of top 3 finish in the first season. And then as the season went on and you're winning, your kind of goalpost change slightly, and you get 10 games to go, and you're like, we could go unbeaten. Always wanted to go unbeaten, and so I think that was magical in itself. I think the hardest bit is once we'd won the league, continuing that kind of drive within the team to continue to go on and win, because we wanted to go unbeaten, because we'd won it. I think it might have been like 7 games to go. Okay. So that was probably the hardest bit, because we'd won the league, and to kind of keep the boys motivated, right, look, this is the next step, we want to go unbeaten, was probably the hardest challenge.
Did you get a gold trophy at the end of it?
We did get a gold trophy, and you know what, the league was really good. They came down and presented it, and yeah, it was a really special day for the club to get promoted, and a lot of work went in behind the scenes that season to get our ground to where we wanted it to be, so we could hit the regulations of the league above. But yeah, they were probably one of my most favourite and rememberable times in football so far.
And I suppose, and that's, no disrespect, with that happening, if there was any doubters out there, that's almost like somebody sticking your two fingers up at them going, well, look what I've just done. Do you know what I mean? I've just done, not only have I got us promoted, but we haven't lost a single game either. So, and getting into step 6, but then you get into step 6, I mean, how many seasons ago was it in step 6? You was in step 6?
That was our first season last season.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, we didn't know what to expect. I certainly didn't know what to expect. It was a different league. You're going down to places like London, and we didn't drop outside the playoff position all season. And then it got to, I think it was like 5 games to go, and we'd finished all our fixtures, and we were still sitting in 5th place, and we needed results to go our way. And they did. People would say we're lucky, but I think if you can stay in the playoff position all season, that's more than luck. It really is. So then we make it into the playoffs. We win the semi-finals, and then we go to the final, hosted at ours against 14 Bengal, and it got all the way down to penalties. And yeah, we just fell short. That was a hard one to take emotionally, but when you step back and the dust is settled to get promoted in the first season, to get to the playoff final and just fall short by penalties, that's short of a miracle for some clubs. So yeah, as much as I'd love to have gone on and won it, it still hurts to think about it. Do you know what? I can't fault the boys throughout the season. It was a big campaign, and lots of new players playing at this level. So it's fantastic for the club.
They're full of success so far. 2 seasons and success. I know you probably wouldn't see us as a successful season because you didn't get the promotion that you probably wanted, but to get to that playoff final and lose on penalties, I mean, it's just one kick of a ball, isn't it? I mean, it seems to be like 2 seasons of everything you touch is turned into gold. But I mean, what is your philosophy then? How have you sort of got Stanway to where they are, even from the season when it was unbeaten, not last season before? I mean, what did you take into the club that was different, that Rosie sort of put her finger on and went, look, if we do it like this is where we could be, boys?
Yeah, I think it was a bit of both, myself and the club, and if you surround yourself with the right people and people in the right positions, you'll go far. So Ray slotting into the youth, bringing 2 youth players through last season that made first team debuts, incredible. Bradders, that was our captain when we went unbeaten, came on board with management. Ian Booth, who's the owner, is the assistant manager, and it just works. We just all read off the same page. We challenge each other when we need to be challenged. But most importantly, I think my biggest, I wouldn't call it a philosophy, but knowing how to manage people first and foremost, because they're people. And if you can get 11 people and the 11 players working together towards the same goal, then the team will take care of itself.
I mean, it's like, I mean, in that run though, I mean, was there anything that went a little bit wrong that you thought maybe we're not going to stay unbeaten, or anybody sort of funny stories you can tell us from that unbeaten season?
Again, what can I say? There was a few games that, there were some really big games. We went over and played Burgolt. Burgolt were our big rivals at the time. And I think we'd gone behind. I can't remember. We came out on top winning 2, I think it was 2-1 we won. And we come out at half time and it absolutely hammered it down. And I'm walking across this pitch thinking this game is going to be called off. And we're wishing for this game not to be called off because we know that the mindset of the players, we can go on and win this game. And I think for me, that when we played Burgolt and we won, that probably showed me what I knew about the players, of putting in that extra mile, running through a brick wall for the club and for the management. And that probably in that season for me really highlighted of what these bunch of players can achieve when they all work together.
And your family, I mean, the family sort of really proud of you as well. I mean, they must be, surely.
Yeah. So my mum and my stepdad, they're big fans. My stepdad especially, he tries to come and watch where he can. Knows very little about football, same with my mum, but they try to pretend they know what they're talking about. And then obviously my brother, he's followed my journey the whole way through. He's a massive fan. He lives in London, so it's quite ideal for him last season because he made all the London games. But this season, I'm not so sure if he will get to many of the games in our league. But they're all biggest fans, and they're really supportive of what I've done and what I'm trying to achieve.
So for people that don't know, whereabouts is Stanway? For the people that don't know,
it's in Colchester. Basically in the heart of Colchester.
So the games you've got to go to then down in Yarmouth. I mean, what's the one you say? No, is that Norwich United?
Norwich United. So we will play them opening game of the season.
Okay.
So
because I think they used to be in step 4 at one stage, didn't they? They were in the Isthmian. I can remember Harlow playing them at one stage.
Yeah, I think they've had a slight management change. I think I saw on Twitter last week a guy called Daryl Tate's gone in over there, so that'll be good. A good little test. He's come from Haverhill, and we played them last season in the cup at the beginning of the season. For me, getting a trip like that, first game of the season out of the way, I think is a perfect opening game. Get that one of the long trips out of the way early doors.
And of course, also as well, it just happens. Was it end of July? Is that as well?
Yeah.
You can take your bucket in spade and stay overnight, and you can have a nice night out down on the seafront.
Yeah, no doubt the guys will turn it into a social. We definitely try and make it a little bit more attractive for the players. If we can stay over and do a team social after the game, then we done it a couple of times last season, and it's massive for team cohesion. So yeah, we'll definitely look at Norwich and Yarmouth of two places that we might do a team social at some point.
So what's it like for you? Is it easy for you to actually go out and recruit players? I mean, how many players have you looked at this, in between the seasons? Have you lost many people from your sort of like 100% season to last season? And have you lost more this season that you've got to go out and recruit yourself? And if so, how's that going?
Yeah, I think whenever you get promoted in your Europa League, you have to strengthen. Otherwise, you'll just get left behind. So we went out, we strengthened we lost a few players. We say lost a few players. They went and played for our reserve side that this season's now playing Border League Prem, where we went unbeaten. So it's a really good level. This season, we've kept all the players that we had last season. And we've done a big recruitment drive, and we've got some really good players coming into that. We've got near on potentially 50 games this season, so depth is massively important for us this season. So yeah, we're really happy with our retention and even better with the recruitment that we've done this season.
So how excited were you on Monday then, when it was the first round draw for the FA Vase?
Yeah, massive. Like for the club, it's absolutely huge, and I couldn't wait to see the draw. But also as well, it's just another cup and another experience for some of these young players that we've got, and for some of them to go away and say, look, I played in the FA Vase is massive. So I'm excited, not just for the club, but I'm excited for the players as well.
And of course, you could be the first non-league ladies manager to manage at Wembley. You thought about that?
I'd lie to you if I said I haven't thought about that. That would be the pinnacle of everything, but we'll just take one game at a time.
Who did you draw?
Haverhill. Yeah, so we'll play them. But yeah, it's really good that you get a lot of the local games out of the way, and then you really, you start paving your way to the final.
So, I mean, with it all though, I mean, what's the plan for yourself? I mean, is your plan to sort of stay with Stanway and move them up through the steps, or if a step 4 side comes in for you or a step 3 side comes in for you? I mean, what's the ambitions? Are your ambitions the same as Hannah's to manage in the pro game? Yeah,
so my ambition is to go as high as I can. Right now, for my development and I want to get on my A license next year, Stanway Pegasus is the right club for me, and I hope that I can take them up through the leagues. For me personally, I just want to continue progressing and being a better coach, and let everything else take care of itself.
So if we go back to last season then, so that you got the semi-final, who was your semi-final against in the playoffs?
Basildon.
Basildon. So what was that like? Well, I mean, talk us through the days and what happened on the day at Basildon. Was it your place at Basildon, or was it two-legged?
It was over at Basildon, and we turned up and they were putting sand down on the middle of the pitch. It was when we had that bad bit of weather, but they done well to get the game on. Yeah, it was very nerve-wracking. There was quite a lot of supporters there, and it's just trying to manage not just your own emotions, but manage the emotions of the players, and just to keep reinforcing to them that, like, we've got as far as we have, and whatever happens now, we can be proud of where we're at and not put too much pressure on. And I said it last season, I felt like when we was on our game, we were probably one of the best footballing sides in that league. So if they just relax, played the way that we've played all season, then the result will take care of itself, and it did.
How nervous were you, though?
Very nervous. I think I was more nervous in the semi-final than I was the final. I think by the final, I knew what to expect emotionally. So yeah, I was really nervous.
So what was the score in the semi-final?
I think it might have been 2-1 or 3-1. It seems so long ago now. Now that well, we're back in pre-season. So yeah, we got a last-minute penalty as well. So yeah, it was absolutely scenes. We had loads of fans travel up to support us, and I think it's probably the biggest crowd that some of the boys had played in, and it's certainly the biggest crowd that I've ever managed or played in as a player. So yeah, it was a new experience, and hopefully there's more of those kind of big experiences to come.
So you went on to play Sporting Bengal. Was that at their place or at your place?
It was meant to be at theirs, but because they share it with an athletics track, athletic season had started, so the fixture got reversed to us. We had I think we had probably about 600 people up there in the end. Wow. Supporting. And yeah, it was a massive day for the club. It was a massive day for the players. And yeah, we managed to get to penalties, and then unfortunately penalties is a lottery, it can go any way. And it's just, yeah, managing those emotions after the game. And I think for me as well, again, you stand back and you see these players getting upset. It just shows how much the club, the badge and the management mean to them. And that was a nice moment to experience once you step away from it and digest the moment.
So what was said in the dressing room afterwards? Or how have you sort of, you said you've kept most of them anyway, for this season. How have you sort of managed to sort of, like, what did you say to them after the game? And then also as well, because when they've all come back, I take it you're back in pre-season already, training-wise. So, I mean, what was it you've said to them to try and sort of, I don't know, boost them up or try and get that sort of negative thought out of the mind of losing in that shootout?
Yeah, I don't think there was anything I could have said in that moment to kind of make everything all right. Sometimes you just got to let people deal with their emotions, and there's a time to talk and there's a time not to talk, and I didn't want to say too much. The boys knew that I was proud of them, and I just reinforced how proud I was. And we go again next season, and the boys have come back this season, and they've got a little bit of a taste of what it was like last season, and they don't want to feel those emotions they felt in that playoff final again, that's for sure. So they've worked really hard over pre-season, and they're in good shape, ready for this season. So I'm happy going into this season with what.
So what about games, pre-season games? Have you started your pre-season games already, or are you about to start them?
Yeah, so tonight's our third game in. So we played 2 weeks ago, and then we played on Saturday. So we managed to win both of those. I don't really look too much at results in pre-season. For me, it's all about minutes, getting players up to 60, 70 minutes in the first couple of games, and then pushing them through so that they can hit 90 by the time we start the season. But yeah, we've got a couple of good games under our belt. Tonight we're playing Walsham, the Willows from the league above. So yeah, that'll be a really good test for us. And I like to stretch the team and challenge them. I don't believe that you should go through pre-season playing teams that you're going to walk over and win. That's not what pre-season is about for me. It's about players getting minutes. It's about players being tested, and can we get as close or to as realistic as close to some of the teams that we're going to play when the season starts.
I know speaking to Gavin McPherson, the new manager at Enfield, of course, he's putting a new team together there, and he said, look, we'll start off with 2 games where we're not going to get much of the ball, then sort of 2 games where we're going to sort of test ourselves, and in 2 games sort of the same sort of level or below to go into the season. And he sort of splits it up a bit like you just said there, and he explained almost exactly the same because they take on Queen's Park Rangers and Tottenham in the first 2 games. So that'll be interesting over the weekend. But who else have you got left to play in pre-season?
Who do we have left? That's the question. We have a game on Saturday and we are over at Oakley. So we've got Oakley on Saturday. And that's a double header for both our first and reserve side. So it's great when we can play these teams and we can take both squads or we can host both squads. Because again, it's nice. It's nice for me to sit there and watch the reserves play before we play. Because ultimately they're going to feed players into us and ultimately we might drop a few players down. So it's really important that we have a strong relationship between the first and reserve side. And yeah, I'm looking forward to Saturday's game because it's a trip for both teams.
What about after that? Or is it straight into the league after that?
After that, we're pretty much straight into the league. So yeah, opening game is away, and then we've got the Vars. So yeah, the fixtures are up until Christmas. And then after that, they'll put the rest of the fixtures out. So at least we know we can plan going into the next couple of weeks of fixtures.
Tell us a little bit more, so before we finish. I mean, tell us a little bit more about Stanway as a club itself. We've heard about Ray and the owner. I mean, tell us a little bit about what the club consists of.
So yeah, we were formed. The seniors used to play on a Sunday. They've been around for many years, and then we moved over to a Saturday about 4 or 5 years ago. Since then, we've got first, we've got reserves, and then last season, 2 seasons ago, we launched the ladies' side. This season, we're launching the ladies' reserves, and we're now up to, I think we might even be up to about 18 to 22 youth teams. And that consists of boys and girls. So we're certainly a club that are growing. We're all about the community feel. And we're all about players progressing through the pathway. And that's one thing that we're really passionate about is we don't want to be a club that every season go out and look further afield and if we've got a budget to just take who we want these young kids to come and watch us on a Saturday and go, I want to play for Stanway Pegasus, and we want them to see players that have done that. And like I said, last year we had 2 young boys come through and they had a first team appearance. So for me, those little wins are massive for the club and massive for me if we can get these youth players coming through and playing for the club, both the male side and the female side as well.
I just one last question for you. What would you say to sort of any young ladies like yourself that's sort of coming through doing their coaching badges and all the rest of it? What would you say to them about taking a job in non-league football or even in league football? And what would you also say to clubs as well that are out there that are thinking about, well, should we hire the lady or should we just go the normal route and just hire the bloke?
Yeah, I think first of all, I'd say to any female coach that go out there and give it a go. You know, what's the worst that can happen? The environment might not be right for you, but you've given it a go. And don't be afraid to step into the male game. At the end of the day, it's just football. Whether it be 22 females on the pitch or whether it be 22 males on the pitch, the game's the same. You try and score a goal and you try and stop the other team from scoring. The principle's the same. What I would say to clubs is, you know, you need to have a bit more of a dynamic approach and be a bit more inclusive. And, you know, I think what helps is when a club has a female section, whether that be a girls section and a women's section, you probably find that clubs are a little bit more diverse and a little bit more open to promoting within the clubs. So I think to clubs out there, there's some really good female coaches working out there, and it's just trying to tap into them and showing them that there is a pathway and that their club can be promoting women in the male game.
And of course, I suppose with your clubs with the ladies, as you know, young girls you've got as well, that's you end up being a big role model for them as well. Yeah,
I like to think so. I like to, where I can, go out and watch the girls teams and the girls come over and watch the ladies team, just like the young boys come over and watch the men's team. And it's a great, I'd advise anyone that's got a free Saturday and Stanway Pegasus at home, please come over and just see what we try to create, that family feel from when you turn up, and it's a really great place to be. So if you've got any spare Saturday, be sure to come down to Stanway Pegasus and give us a little watch.
Well, absolutely. We absolutely will. And we wish you literally all the very, very best for the coming season. Hopefully you get that promotion to step 5 and keep pushing forward, and plenty more appearances on Sky Sports.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
No problem. Stay there, mate. I know I've got something to ask you afterwards. But listen, a massive thank you again to Rosie, and it's fantastic to see what an incredible job she's doing down at Stanway, and we do hope she gets all the way to the top and hopefully becomes that first woman manager to appear at in the men's game, of course, at Wembley, which will be fantastic. It's going to happen. It's written in the stars. This May, it's going to be there in on-league day. So get your tickets now, Stanway fans, because I think it's going to happen. But a massive thank you to Rosie for joining us, and a massive thank you for everybody for watching. And that's the end of Series 2 of My Life in Football. We'll be back next week with the very first goal show of the new season. But until then, from me and Rosie, good night.